What's up, people, and welcome back to Continental Club, where, as usual, we're discussing the hottest topics in European football. That is the tagline we all know and love. I'm hosting, I think, for the first time in my EFD career, due to Doogie and Hamel being in Indonesia, living it up with Carlos Puyol. Before we get into it, please do, if you haven't already, subscribe to EFD for more great content such as this. And Stat Wars the league, Stat Wars the champions. You played against Specs yesterday, didn't you?
I did, mate.
Zach, how did that go?
I found there were no rules. Hey.
Yeah. Don't reveal the result. Go and check that out after you've watched this. So yeah, first question comes in from @Meath98, and he has asked, which player has impressed you the most in the Champions League this season? Obviously, Messi and Ronaldo both put in fantastic performances this week to get their teams through to the quarterfinals. I believe Messi got his 62nd goal in 61 Champions League games at the Camp Nou, which is just outrageous. But at the same time, not that surprising because he is just from another planet, isn't he? But excluding them, because we speak enough about those guys. Who out of the kind of the best of the rest has been impressive for you? Starting with Pat.
For me, I think it's got to be somebody from Ajax. I mean, the thing about Messi and Ronaldo is that they're impressive, but I'm rarely impressed because I'm just so used to them being ridiculous. Whereas I think with some of the Ajax players, like we've heard rumours that they'd go, that Frenkie de Jong and Matthijs de Ligt would go for kind of 65, 70 million pounds. And it's one of those things where you're used to hearing it, and then when they eventually do get sold, they go for about 25, 30. That's obviously not the case with de Jong and de Ligt. They look like generational talents, and de Jong in particular, I think has just looked like everything we hoped he would be. I mean, his performance against Ajax across both legs, I thought was sensational, really. Like, won all of his tackles in the second leg, completed a couple of take-ons. Though I looked at his stats and it said he completed 2 take-ons, and I was like, I'm pretty certain I remember him skinning people 7 or 8 times a game. So I'm not sure how exactly they define
maybe he took
a completed take-on.
Maybe it was like he took a lot of players out of the game without having to kind of.
Or maybe if you just run past Toni Kroos and he's so slow that he doesn't get near you, that it doesn't count technically as a dribble. But yeah, I think that he's been absolutely incredible. I mean, he looks like a Barcelona player. Passing accuracy is like 90%, but at the same time, he's still passing incisively, passing forward. Doesn't play it safe. Really big defensive work rate. Can cover ground like you wouldn't believe. And he's 21. And I don't know. I mean, that team, it just feels like perfect alchemy this season. They've got exactly the right blend of youth and experience. Tadic as well. And Ziyech, they've both been sensational. Tadic, I think, has got 9 goal involvements in the Champions League this season. I think the only people with more, I think maybe Lewandowski had more, and Messi certainly has more. But 9 goal involvements in 8 appearances. And I think he's creating something like 3 chances a game. And some of the teams these clubs have had to play are not easy sides. The same goes for some of the Lyon guys. Like half their games came against Man City and Barcelona, and yet we've seen players like Maxwell Cornet and Tanguy Ndombele putting up great numbers as well. So I think there's actually been a lot of exciting youth in the Champions League.
Yeah, fair enough. Zach, what do you reckon?
I mean, one thing we can't not mention is Liverpool. They got to the final last year, and they're absolutely smashing it again this year. And although maybe Salah isn't quite doing as well as he was last year, which we always kind of knew was going to happen because he was ridiculous, I think Sadio Mane has also kind of stepped up to the plate.
Yeah.
He's been incredible against Bayern Munich. The first goal against Neuer was ridiculous, absolutely skilled him. And then also the finish as well. Actually, I think we haven't spoken about enough either, to chip it, because there were 2 defenders in front of him on his weaker foot. It's a hard thing to do. That being said, though, like he has scored a lot of important goals for Liverpool. 9 of his 13 Champions League goals have come in the knockout rounds, which is about 69% of his goals in the Champions League, which I think is second best to like Olic, which is ridiculous, of players that have scored at least 10 goals. But I think there's more than them. I think James Milner, he's been ridiculous, and he was ridiculous last season as well. I think he's got like the most assists since the Champions League last season. Also, he got to the final, so it makes sense. And we have to talk as well about Virgil van Dijk. Arguably, I will say it again, player of the season in the Premier League. I think he's been ridiculous. To bring him in January last year, just fixed up the defence. I mean, the only issue you would have said last year was that Liverpool's defence wasn't great. And what did? They brought in Virgil van Dijk and they brought in Alisson, who again is someone we can speak about. and he's absolutely fixed it up. The fullbacks have been fantastic in Robertson and Alexander-Arnold. I know the only other position is the other centre-back spot, which they can improve, but they need someone to partner Virgil van Dijk, and he's been outrageous this year, along with Alisson as well.
Yeah, I think shout out Trent as well, because I think he's been pretty much flawless in the Champions League for someone that young, and
Yeah.
he's kind of was thrown in there last season. Like he's just taken the competition like a duck to water.
His set pieces are ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's taking them like an experienced David Beckham.
But
At such a young age.
But his distribution's actually kind of like an old style winger as well. Like, I mean, a lot of times in the Liverpool match against Bayern, obviously like a lot of focus was on that Van Dijk ball for the first Mane goal. But loads of the time the ball would go out to Alexander-Arnold down the wing, and then he'd ping in a great pass to Firmino or to Salah running onto it. And I don't know, to be that good a passer and as athletic as he is, and as good a game reader as he is, and to have that set piece delivery, and to be 19, like, I mean, you do wonder like where the limit is for a player like him.
It shows when he had the most touches in the entire game at right back, and how important he is to that side. I mean, he was that good. We all thought he put the ball in for Mane's second. It was Salah in the end, but like we just expect it from him, that he's going to be getting the assist from those kind of situations. Mikey, what do you think though, in terms of other teams?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue actually with that Liverpool team. I thought, they were really, really impressive against Bayern. Just how easy that victory was come the second half was actually quite astounding for a team who have only really been a force in the last kind of year and a half on the European stage. I think also you were talking about Lyon as well, Pat. I think Memphis Depay has to get a shout as well. I think he's got like 4 assists and was creating 4 chances a game as well, which again, when you're playing Man City and Barca for half those games is mightily impressive. And he will maybe playing himself into a move in the summer. I think out of teams remaining in the Champions League as well, Harry Kane has to get a shout. I think he's been very important for Spurs, scored some very important goals. But for United, I think, although maybe, rode our luck against PSG, obviously, over those 2 legs. But I think in general, even before Solskjaer took over, I think Victor Lindelof has been mightily impressive in the Champions League. I think against PSG, I think he got something like 3 tackles and interceptions, three clearances, which on the face of it isn't anything remarkable, but in general he's just been a very, very calm presence at the back for United, and finally kind of giving De Gea that protection that he needs. I think in the Juve games as well, in group stages, he was really, really impressive, and I think that was kind of when he was just starting to come into form. And it is pretty heartening to see a player who you can rely on at centre back, no matter who he's got next to him. Obviously, Bailly and Jones are a little bit more erratic. Smalling's been in great form recently, but in general, if you see Lindelof in that back line for United now, you're at least halfway to kind of being confident that they're not going to let in 2 or 3 goals in a game. So I think that has brought definitely brought a lot of confidence to the United side. I just think in general he's been a lot better. I think he's played. Started 15 of the 17 games that Solskjaer's been in charge of, so you can tell that he's pretty much as reliant on him as he is on someone like Herrera or on someone like Pogba, in terms of the all-round player of this United side, and obviously just a lot more comfortable on the ball as well than the other United centre backs. So he has. I think he's kind of been a little bit underrated in terms of United's progress over the last couple of months.
I was going to say, considering when he first joined United, and so much was expected from him from when he joined Benfica, from when he came from Benfica, because of how well he was playing in Benfica, it's finally nice to see him actually doing what we kind of knew he could do. I mean, he hasn't scored a free kick yet like he did for Benfica, but with Pogba and stuff like that, I doubt it's going to happen. But to now see him as arguably one of the first names on the team sheet every single week in, week out, I think it's nice to see, especially, I personally believe, I remember when he first transferred over and we were kind of like, it's going to be him and Bailly at the back, and although Bailly, as you said, hasn't been great, Lindelof and his passing's been fantastic, I think. Even under Mourinho, he was maybe one of the...
He was, in the last couple of months, he was one of the only players who was really performing to the best of their abilities. And like you were saying, it's a shame about someone like Bailly seems to have. I don't know where the path back for him lies, but But yeah, he seems to have finally come good. And it could have not worked out for him. Like with a lot of centre backs in the Premier League going to go, especially looking at like Man City's record with centre backs a few years ago. But yeah, I think we've pretty much covered everyone. Any other outside shouts before we move on?
Leroy Sané. I wrote about him, I think the other day. I think he's got 4 goals, 4 assists now in the Champions League.
Wow.
And I swear he's involved in a goal like every 70 minutes or something insane across League and Champions League. Like he's been involved in 25 goals this season in League and Champions League. And when you think that he hasn't been a nailed-on starter that whole time, that is genuinely remarkable. He got a goal and 3 assists against Schalke the other night, which was a hell of a way to kind of go back to the club that made him. But where he kind of announced himself when he scored in that 4-3 victory over Real Madrid a few years ago. But I want to see Leroy Sané play every game, and I'm hoping that he's a bit more of a regular star. As good as Bernardo Silva has been, as good as Raheem Sterling has been, I'm not sure either one of them is as exciting to watch as Sané.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, they don't beat a man as exciting as Sané, if that makes sense. Like when they run at a man, it's like.
Yeah, there's very few players that I like to see like cut in along the byline.
I think Sterling and Silva are arguably more intelligent players than Sané, as in like Sterling can switch up his game if he needs to. Like he's able to play more centrally, which requires a bit more positional awareness or whatever. But Sané, I said this the other day, and he does remind me a bit of early Cristiano Ronaldo. It's just like the pure pace on the wing. Yeah, the pure pace on the wing, creative ability, goal scoring ability. Pretty two-footed as well, and also size. He's like a really big guy for a winger.
I think it's the exact same size as Ronaldo.
Yeah, it's like 6'1" or something like that. 6'1". Yeah, and there's still a lot more to come from him. He's 23 now.
Yeah. Like approaching his peak in the next couple of years, isn't he? And it goes to show as well just the kind of form that Sterling's in and the kind of form that Aguero's in that Sané isn't being talked about in the same way as them. Obviously, he's not getting quite as much game time, but that's unreal considering.
Yeah, and I think.
Sorry, no. I was actually going to mention another player in terms of Szczesny in Juve. I mean, to come in after being on the bench, well, not on the bench all the time, but as the backup to Buffon for so long, and now to essentially have a season where like no one's really said anything bad about you, and he's pulled off some absolute worldies at Juventus in the Champions League. I mean, it's credit has to be given to him.
Yeah, for sure. And like Juve actually are probably in the top 3 favourites to win the competition.
Yeah, I mean, when you buy a CR7, you more than likely you will be.
Yeah.
So?
I said when you buy a CR7, you're more than likely will be.
Yeah, for sure, it's true. And that moves us quite, seamlessly onto our next bit. We're not doing a match preview this weekend because there's been big news today. Obviously, the draw for the Champions League quarterfinals. Juventus, as we were talking about, one of the favourites, coming up against Ajax, who are everyone's kind of underdog. Who everyone's rooting for. Juve, Ajax, Liverpool, Porto, Man City, Spurs, Man United, Barcelona. What do you boys make of that draw?
It's quite exciting.
I mean, all of them are very nice. Like
no, Liverpool, Porto isn't. Whoever got Porto.
I mean, yeah, very true.
The only way the Porto match would have been good if Ajax had got them, so they essentially got a bye into the semi-finals because. I don't know, Liverpool, you've got to assume are just going to pump Porto. But then again, last season as well, I mean, Liverpool fans hate it when you say this, but last season they got an easy ride to the final as well.
Oh, definitely.
Bar Man City. So, on the other hand, I think regardless of who they got, I still think they'd be in the top 3 as well. Yeah. For me, the top 3 are City, Juve and Liverpool, and then behind those, Barcelona.
I can't wait to see Barca. I can't wait to see Barca slap United. I think Messi's going to score. I think Messi's going to score a hattie at Old Trafford.
I think it's his first time at Old Trafford as well. Actually, no, I might be wrong. I think he might have played in the semis in 2008. But yeah, I think you couldn't have asked for much of a better draw. I think it was always going to be pretty entertaining, wasn't it? But I don't know. Man City, Spurs. I think everyone's talking up Man City as the favourites. I mean, at least I reckon they're the most capable of doing it. But at the same time, Pochettino has a pretty decent record against Guardiola over the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
I think that's
especially if they're playing at the new stadium as well.
I think that's the second worst fixture they could have got. The worst would have been, the worst would have been Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I think the second worst was Spurs.
Do you reckon over Juve and Barca?
Yeah. I think Barcelona, City beat them quite comfortably. And I think Juve, I think City beat them as well. But I think with Spurs, Spurs know like they played them a couple of times already this season. And as you said, Pochettino's record against them is decent enough. Pochettino knows Man City and Pep Guardiola. So I think this one is a lot closer than people expected.
I don't know, man. I think Spurs are pretty thin in midfield at the moment. They've got some people coming back. Ali will be back. That'll be good because it'll make it a little bit more competitive. But the thing is, for Man United and Spurs, if Spurs still had that 10-point advantage on the other teams in the top 4 race, then you'd think, you know what, they can actually rest people for this and really go hard and try and beat City over 2 legs. And like you're saying, I do back Pochettino to get his game plan right over 2 legs. However, they haven't got an easy time.
I mean, that is true. Yeah,
they've got Liverpool and City away in the league, and now they've got another 2 games against City. If they get not even just a key injury, but if somebody is just not at full speed for one of their games outside of those, you know, for a game against Wolves or Everton or whoever they've got, they could easily find themselves in 5th quite quickly. And unless you really think you've got a great chance at winning the Champions League, as sad as it sounds, I think you kind of have to be a bit careful when you're Spurs. When you're in the money situation Spurs are in. United, at least, if they miss Champions League, yes, they'll say, well, it's not where we belong. We belong in the Champions League. We're Man United. But they're going to spend pretty much exactly the same amount in the summer. They're going to have not that much less of a draw for quality players because they can pay such obscene amounts. Spurs are in real trouble if they don't have Champions League football next year. And so, I don't know, I do think that that's going to be a factor. Like, you may well see, if they lose the first leg, I wouldn't be surprised if the second leg Spurs are kind of like, we're going to run out Walker Peters, we're going to run out some of our youth and save it for our other matches.
I don't think Pochettino will do that.
Well, neither do I. Like in theory, but in practice, like what if they've slipped another place in that time?
True. Yeah. I mean, it's a very good point. I didn't really actually consider the Premier League then. I just sort of saw the games and was like, they could do this. But that is a very good point.
Yeah, it really is dependent on what happens in the next month, isn't it? When do these ties kick off in about a month, early April, is it? Kind of end of March, early April. That, so it does kind of depend what happens between now and then. I think that would be my fear with United. Barca can probably afford to focus on this more, seeing as La Liga is far more in their hands now than it was even 2-3 weeks ago. I don't know. Ajax Juve is going to be tasty, man. Ajax Juve is.
I would love Ajax to do Juve. I would love it.
It would be unreal, but it's Juve's defence is just superior.
Yeah,
but it's just like the triumph of good over evil.
It is. It really
would be great for
is.
Ajax to beat Juve.
But then I say I don't expect it, but I also expected Real Madrid to beat Ajax, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ajax team is fantastic. The Ajax team is so good at the moment, as they always is, where they always have a decent team and then they get sold eventually. But just Juve, like, to come back from 2-0 down, and like, as much as we don't like saying, like, Ronaldo, like, he is arguably the best Champions League player ever.
The belief you get from those kind of games can be very important.
But I would love it for your scenario
when
to happen.
The narrative goes like that. So
I would love it for your scenario to happen, that Juve buy Ronaldo and then they go out to an Ajax.
Absolutely,
it'd be fantastic.
It would be so good. But I mean,
and Ajax will dominate those games, right? Like you'd expect as well.
What, in possession?
Yeah.
Do you think?
I think so.
I don't know, man. Like Juve are just so good at like keeping the ball. I mean, they were helped the other day by a really bad Atletico performance, but I don't know. Like those defenders are so good, and basically, do you think that Bonucci and Chiellini have a better shot against Tadic and Ziyech than De Ligt has against Ronaldo?
Like, no, probably not. No, I think
we've got to assume that, I don't know, it's going to be a real test for De Ligt. We're going to see what he's like. I mean, he's incredibly strong, but whether he can read Ronaldo's movement is going to be the question in this game, probably.
I mean, if they knock them out, their prices go up by another 20 mil.
If they knock them out, then they start to be serious like contenders for the Champions League. They've played Bayern twice and they were very good in both of those games. They played obviously Real Madrid twice and were comfortably better in both those games. If they were to knock out Juve as well, then you'd think maybe this team is like not just good for the Eredivisie, but like genuinely one of the best Eredivisie sides we've seen since the Ajax sides that competed for the Champions League in the 90s.
I mean, fair enough. But what do you think the scores will be in all the games?
Oh, difficult. I think I don't know.
What, an aggregate or first leg?
I mean, first more. The scores are hard.
Should we just say who's going to go through? Should we just say?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, who's going to go through?
I do think Juve will beat Ajax, not going to lie. I
Yeah,
think
me
Juve
too.
will beat Ajax, and I think City will beat Spurs.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be City, Juve in the
I
semi.
think this is favourites all the way down. I think Barca, City, Liverpool, Juve.
I'm gonna go Ajax.
Yeah?
Someone's got to believe in them.
Mate,
I'll do it.
I hope
I'll
you're
do it,
right. I
guys.
hope you're right. And you know what? I wouldn't even be mad if Spurs knocked out City.
Yeah, very true, very true.
I'm going to say...
It's the beauty of the Champions League, isn't it?
Say United. I'm going to say United knock out Barcelona.
Well, it'd be great then, because then what? Is that a City semi-final? If
It
they beat
is
Spurs?
no. It would be a Liverpool
A
semi-final.
Liverpool
Even-
semi-final.
That'd be unreal.
Better.
You imagine?
Imagine
Could
if you
you
went
imagine?
Barca, Liverpool, City. That'd be amazing.
It's going to happen.
Like the latter stages of
Going
the
to
Champions League
happen.
would be incredible. If that happened.
Marcus Rashford. You know, he's going to do what Mbappe did 2 years ago.
What?
But
Not
win-
win the
but
Champions
we'll
League?
win it this time.
Get knocked out in the semi.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's a funny old one. But yeah, no, to be fair, I'm actually kind of buzzing to see Messi play against United just because it's been so long. 2011 was the last time that happened. But anyway, I think we've Champions Leagued ourselves out now. What do you guys think about the draw? Who do you think is going to go through to the semis? Who would you like to see win the competition? Let us know in the comments below. Let's move on to quickfire questions. Quickfire questions time, and on the subject of European competition in general, Europa League draws just happened, and at Bandit Pundit has asked, can Arsenal win it?
Who have you got on Saturday?
We've got Napoli. We've got Napoli away to start with. Yeah, we can win it. I wouldn't bet on us winning it. But it's of course it's possible. Like I mean, if you don't get pumped away at Napoli, and Napoli are beatable. They've had some bad results this season. Then I think that at the Emirates we should probably win. But it's a tough draw, and there's the part of me that thinks, you know what, like we should really go hard for the top four now. I think that we're kind of one. I'd say that we're maybe favourites for the top four now, out of the four teams competing for those third and fourth spots. I don't know. Who have Chelsea got?
Is it Sparta?
Slavia Prague.
Prague.
Okay, maybe
Slavia
Chelsea are
Prague.
going to win the Euro.
I don't know. They did beat Sevilla. And
Yeah,
They
did.
did.
I
didn't
I mean,
actually see
in
the game,
dramatic
Yeah.
fashion.
They were
like, it was the
competitive
la-
across both
They've
legs.
gone into extra time, and they scored in the last minute. And there was some worldies scored in that match as well. The fans there, the away fixture does look quite tough. To be fair, the fans are, as they say, the 12th man.
Yeah, there you go.
God.
Guess it will separate the boys from the men, won't it? As they say. Yeah, but it's an interesting one. I think Europa League. There's been a few, yeah, like Sevilla. Who was it? Who Salzburg knocked out as well.
Salzburg
They've got-
almost knocked out Napoli. Salzburg
Yeah.
beat Napoli 3-1 in the return leg, but it was only because they lost 3-0 in the first leg
Ooh.
that
Oh, of
they
course,
went
yeah.
out. But,
So they'd go-
but yeah, that's exactly my point. Like Salzburg beat Napoli 3-1 in Austria. So why haven't Arsenal got a shot against them?
I mean,
sure.
I also
they have been in
expect,
very good form.
And Valencia as well are actually a really dangerous side. Valencia got Villarreal, and I imagine they'll beat them because Villarreal are not having a great season.
the way it seems to be with Arsenal at the moment in the Europa League is the away fixture is terrible, the home fixture is fantastic, and they just try and score more in the home.
Yeah, though I mean, there was a red card in the Rennes game, which didn't help. So trying not to get sent off
Yeah, very true.
away
Very
at
true.
Napoli would probably be helpful. But I don't know. Like actually, these fixtures are not that much worse than some of the Champions League round of 16
100%,
fixtures
I
you
agree
get
with
from
that.
time to time. So
Yeah, I think it's in general been a bit more competitive, hasn't it, over the last couple
Yeah.
of years. What did you make of Arsenal's performance against Rennes last night?
I mean, it's just easy, really. Like there were a couple of hairy moments late on, but generally speaking, like it was just kind of a walk in the park. Like this is the thing. Like Arsenal have been able to turn it on when they've needed to this season in those sorts of games. And when you have firepower, when you have Özil, Lacazette, and Aubameyang starting, that is not a Europa League front line.
Sure.
And Kolasinac as well. He's just having a lethal season from wing back. I've rarely seen as creative a fullback season as we're getting from Kolasinac. It's just like lethal crosses every game. His cross for the third goal is unbelievable, just threaded between the defender
Yeah,
and the keeper.
fantastic.
But yeah, I think with people now that Torreira served his ban and Socrates is back and people like that, I think that we've actually got a really solid squad to compete on both fronts. But if I had to put my eggs in one basket, I'd probably go for the league.
Yeah, fair enough. It is, generally speaking, slightly easier, isn't it, compared to kind of going through all those rounds of Europa.
And just
What is
weird
it?
shit can happen, can't it? You know, like you can just concede a freak goal, and then you're just, or a red card, and then you're done.
Yeah, I mean, like,
As PSG can tell us.
like Mourinho, the only reason why Mourinho got Champions League football in his first season at United was because John Guidetti missed an open goal in the last minute at Old Trafford.
That is true.
So that goes to show just how lucky
Written
you
in
have
the
to be,
stars,
even
it
when you
was.
do get lucky draws as well. But anyway, Chelsea now in the spotlight. At FTF has asked, if Chelsea fail to get Champions League football, is Sarri gone? More interesting question, I think.
It's hard because I can see why it will happen due to Chelsea's history, but I can also see why it won't happen due to Chelsea wanting to apparently implement a new style of football. I mean, as I've said countless times, I think it's stupid either way. If Chelsea either looked at Sarri and gone, okay, we want to bring him in, and said, okay, but we're not going to bring the right players, stupid. Or they've looked at Sarri and said, he's going to take these players and they're not going to play football. Again, stupid. Either way, the board is at fault here. But if we don't get Champions League football, Sarri will stay at the club.
You reckon?
I do think so. I just don't know who replaces him.
It's not exactly a draw, is it? Come into Chelsea, you can't make transfers, and you're not in the Champions League.
Yeah, like who do we get? Or do we get like Steve Holland from England back, and he can
You get
he
Frank.
can manage us for a year?
You get Frank Lampard.
Yeah, you do.
Oh,
Lampard's
I mean,
true. It's
I
true.
but it's just too early for
Inevitably,
Frank
that's
Lampard.
what you're going to do.
I'm not against Frank Lampard or John Terry taking
You
over the
should
club
be.
eventually, but it's his first season. He's not even in the playoffs at the moment. I think he's like 6th with Derby.
I think they will go to the playoffs. That is sick. That is playoff
Or is-
place.
oh, there you go.
Sick.
But I think it's tight. Though.
I don't know if that is where they are.
It's tight between the points.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it- I don't know whether the Football League, is there more playoff, or is that next season they're bringing in more playoff places? I'm not
Jesus
quite sure.
Christ.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're going to have
I'm not
semi-finals.
quite- I don't
for
quite know
them,
a lot
yeah,
about the
semi-finals for
Championship.
semi-finals. But yeah, I think in the long term, Lampard's got to be a shout.
I mean,
Chelsea job,
like Derby's been playing like good. I've watched a couple of games of Derby, and they've been playing nice, attractive football, which is down to Lampard, not just
Chelsea
due to some of the
loanees as
play,
well.
yeah, and some of the Chelsea loanees. Then fine, like I'm more happy for that. But I just don't think, like the bigger problem is Frank Lampard coming in next season too early won't happen. No one else is available unless we get Jose Mourinho back in, which is again probably a worse idea than just keeping Sarri for another season. I just don't see it being a smart option for Chelsea, but also Chelsea don't make smart moves.
Well,
So
well, this is what's interesting is that
Who knows?
that maybe having the transfer ban, the fact that Abramovich seems to be less and less concerned with the kind of day-to-day running of the club. Maybe this will force Chelsea is maybe forcing Chelsea just to be a bit more relaxed in their approach
And
to
play
these sort of
the-
things, and which actually might be of benefit to Chelsea
Well,
over the next 2 years.
the issue though, like, is a part of that as well will be us having to implement youth into the side, especially with no summer transfer window. And
Yeah.
I've heard actually, I won't be able to, can't call him out because he actually works for Chelsea. But there's basically someone was complaining that these youngsters, when they get to the first team, are finding it so hard to play Sarri's football because all of the other parts of the development side, the under-18s and all of this, aren't playing Sarri's football. They're all playing the football that they've been playing for a bunch of years and how they've learned since they were younger. So the second they get to the under-18s or the reserves and they make that jump up to the first team, none of them know what they're doing at all. And that's why some players like Hudson-Odoi and things like that haven't been starting as much due to Sarri essentially in training being like, why aren't you following what I'm doing? And just because they're not understanding.
I mean, to be honest, I find it hard to believe that, like, just because they're youth players,
Yeah,
they wouldn't be able to grasp something that's. It's not
I
like
agree.
senior players like are particularly like, intellectually sophisticated, so that they can grasp ideas that like Callum Hudson-Odoi can't. I don't know.
I also agree, but I just thought it was interesting. I hadn't actually
Yeah, maybe-
thought
I mean,
about it
maybe
like
that's
that
true.
in terms of the way that the squad's set up. Because apparently in training, Sarri's just chain smoking, swearing left, right, and centre. I mean, it doesn't surprise me either.
At the same time, he came straight in Italy, didn't he? And like when he arrived at Napoli, he had a huge improvement in his first season. So they all seemed to get it pretty much instantly.
Maybe it was just a bit of a perfect storm. I don't know. I can see why it's a bit of a shock to the system, especially in terms of that kind of training ground manner. It's like not what you've seen in England for about 30 years. at
Yeah,
least at a top club.
100%.
So maybe it's just a bit too much of a breath of fresh air. But final question to the Bundesliga now, or more so just the Bundesliga's standing.
Okay.
Obviously, we've seen Bayern drop off a lot this season. Dortmund could still win the Bully, although I expect Bayern might bring it back. But at St Mirren Shiny have asked, Is the Bundesliga now the worst of the top 5 leagues in Europe? That's a big shout. Bit of a hot take, that.
I mean, we say Premier League top, then
Yeah.
La Liga, and then, in my opinion, Serie A, Bundesliga, and then Liga.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say the Bundesliga is worse than Liga. There's just not enough teams.
Well, also the third or fourth best team in the Bundesliga was better than the third or fourth best team in Liga. I know Lyon are currently third, but I think Lyon are probably overall the second best team in Liga. And then you have a bit of a drop off. I don't think Lille are particularly great. I don't think, teams like Montpellier or whatever are anything special. Monaco have obviously had a massive falling off. So Eintracht Frankfurt is probably better than those sides, and Leverkusen now under Boss is probably better than those sides. So I still think that I'd rather play the top 6 sides in France than the top 6 sides in Germany,
100%.
even though Germany have had a pretty appalling Champions League.
Yeah.
I think
So
you have
three
to do it
teams
on
made the second round of it.
managerial talent as well, and the Bundesliga has far more of that than Liga. And you have to say, right? Like, I mean,
But Liga's
when you've got Monaco hiring someone like Thierry Henry, I know they were in a bit of a desperate situation, but like, you couldn't imagine even a middling German club taking that kind of approach.
True.
Like that. I don't know.
I mean,
But
Liga's
on the other hand,
a weird one in terms of, like, you've got PSG,
yeah.
they're always there, and then it's like Lille, as you said, every now and again they jump up and down. Monaco jump up and down. Montpellier jump up and down. They've got no say with the Premier League or all these other teams where it's a consistent top 6. The top 6 changes every other year,
Also,
or maybe Lyon.
to go back to the managerial talent thing, like the 2 best managers in France, though, are still way better than the 2 best managers in Germany right now. Like Tuchel and Jardim, I think, are comfortably the 2 best managers between those 2 leagues. I don't think Favre's okay. Kovac is okay. I like Adi Hutter. He's good. Boss is all right. Like, I mean, but I would rather have, if I were at any club in either of those leagues, my first choice manager would be Tuchel. My second choice would be Jardim.
But would you not say that there's probably a better spread?
I do agree there's probably a better spread, but I think that, like, actually this is probably the best managers that Monaco and PSG have had at the same time for a while.
Yeah, I'd probably agree, to be fair. But what do you guys think of that hot take, Bundesliga being the worst of the top 5 leagues? I don't think any of us are really convinced by that, to be honest. Let us know in the comments below. And I guess we'll wrap it up here. Where should the good people go next?
Well, they should head over to FDFC and check out the latest Sevens episode. I've gone viral, everyone, due to me being an absolute Lionel Messi of a player and bringing up a new skill called the Irish jig. It's fantastic. I did mean it as well. People keep saying I didn't mean it.
Well,
yeah, well, it is what it is. And why not check out Squad Goals there whilst
it is what it is.
you're there. Squad Goals have been going fantastic. You can see 8 of us play FIFA and shout abuse at Joe. Like, what more do you want? And Milad.
I've not been invited to be on it though, so
me neither,
start a petition or something. But yeah, and if you haven't already, like and subscribe as always, and see you next week or see you on the weekend.
Bye.
Have a nice time.